Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SuperCoach Edge and another edition of Damo's Team Talk. This time coming out of round 7. Apologies as well in advance for my husky voice. I have come direct from the Carlton Geelong game. As you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, my Baggers cap. And it was a great game. Great game for obvious reasons, being a Baggers man. But in terms of SuperCoach, as I flick across to the screen showing my score and rank, wasn't the best round for me. Ended up scoring a 2,347. And it's funny because I've been fluctuating between these kind of past two positions over the past couple of weeks, between 10K and around about the 15K. So I slid out to 15K 2 weeks ago. Last week, I came into the top 10K, ranked about 9,800 or something. And now I am ranked, I've slid back, unfortunately, because the score that I did score this round was below par. 14,042nd overall is the position at the moment. But it is not danger territory. It's not a time to worry. As I always say, very rarely do you have consistency when it comes to SuperCoach. You're going to have those off weeks. And this I kind of liken to a bit of a plateau more than anything. Like, if you're losing weight or if you're in the gym in terms of, putting on size, they always use the term plateauing. And this is kind of what's happening here with SuperCoach. Structurally, I've been improving my team and I had a very nice captaincy score last week. This week, not too bad either. I'll get into it in a moment. But yeah, it seems as though that my team, I've kind of haven't slid back to where I was a couple of weeks ago, where I was actually 15,000. I'm a little bit ahead of that. So it's not the end of the world. And I haven't slid too far. So it's allowed me to then, I guess from weeks on here on out, to claw my way back. So again, if you're in my position, you had a bit of an off week on what was an absolutely crazy week. If you have a look across the board in leagues that you're in, I imagine that you will see scores of 2,500, even 2,600. Even if I have a look now at the team of the week, which I haven't yet, I'm sure it's 2,700 or something ridiculous. Yeah, 27-24, which is crazy, absolutely insane. Had Max Gawn as his captain or her captain, Dacos, Butters, Neil, Sheasel, Lockie Ash, Rankin Smith. So a whole heap of players, like Cherry as well, that popped off and had their best rounds of the year. So in that context, don't stress, don't fret. Last week I had an above par week when a majority of people didn't. So it's kind of like swings and roundabouts really when it comes to SuperCoach. So again, do not fret. The main thing is, as I always say, and I'll repeat myself again, as long as your structure is solid from week to week, and you're not having to rely on poor rookies, you've got, half decent primos across the board, scoring well enough consistently, you're going to be fine. And above all else, you're bringing in the right cash cows that are going to make you cash to allow you to upgrade your team across the journey of 2025. So let's go through our team line by line, and we might just actually switch up the view here from field view to list view because it's much easier just to digest if you're watching us on YouTube. But I will, of course, go through player by player for those people tuning into the audio podcast. So let's kick things off by going through the first player. First come off the rank, it is Harry Sheasel. Scored a 135, so he is well and truly back. You would think, hopefully, he ended up scoring a 135 and ended up dropping 5K. So it's not the end of the world. I think there was a few people that jumped off him, surprisingly. I think Abs Magic was one of those, of course, aka the Scottfather, but he is very unorthodox. I probably wouldn't recommend doing it, but like he's mentioned in his videos that he's going about things with a different strategy, which is totally fine. And he's probably trying to bite off more than what you can chew. And I think that, I still say that the season is young. And, if you want to go about things that way, that's up to you. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but that's the way that he plays, and you got to respect that. But for me, I think I'm happy enough with Shees, kept the faith. And as I always say when it comes to primos, keep the faith, especially this time of year. You've selected them in your team for a reason, and provided they've got the role and they're scoring well enough and, getting their hands on the pill, that's all you can ask for. So still in 60% of teams. And the way that I look at it as well, that Shees, because he's in a majority of the competition, teams across the competition, I should say, that no matter what he scores, you're not going to really be impacted or affected negatively in a sense. If you are fading him, you are in the minority with 40% of the competition. So if he does have a really big game like he did this round, you're going to be hurt. So I think I would be, in terms of gambling against him, I probably wouldn't be doing that. There are other players that you could do that with, but he wouldn't be one that I'd be doing that with personally. Moving on to Max Holmes, he had a very, very down week. I don't know who was actually playing on him. I couldn't tell live at the game. It may have been Georgie Boy Hewitt playing a little bit of a run with role, but I think from what I saw, he was kind of pushed around the field. He wasn't in the engine room 100% of the time. Maybe wrong, but to the eye, it didn't look that way. A 70 is below par for him. He's lost 7.5K, but he's a primo, and I think he's going to be a top 6 defender. So that I am confident on. And his DPP is very handy, as we know. Moving on to Dane Zorko. Now, another guy that's been inconsistent. Finally cracked the ton, 104. Didn't reach the heights of what we're hoping him to. He's in 21% of teams, but went down 29K, now priced at 516.8K. So if you are in the market for a bit of a bargain primo pick, I would look at him very, very closely. However, having said that, I want to see how long off Kitty Coleman is from returning to the Brisbane team, because I'd like to see how these two play together before, if I wasn't non-owner, get a little bit of a look at that, bit of a look-see, and then gauge whether or not it's best to bring him in or maybe fade him. But Dane, at least he cracked the ton, and that we will take. Matt Roberts, now a lot of people traded him out, a week ago, and he returned to form with that big score. Now, followed it up with another big score, 117. Went up 17.2K, so now has, I guess, re-energized, kickstarted his cash generation, and he should be on the way up. But I think for me, I don't know if he's still yet going to be classified as a primo or a keeper, as a top 6 scoring defender. I still see him as a stepping stone, but someone that, you could really lean upon up until, the latter part of the season as one of your final upgrades potentially. Who knows? He could potentially mold himself into a top 6 defender, but it's just really good to see he has rebounded and kept the same role that he has had previously. So past 2 scores, he's had 119, 117. Prior to that, he had the 2 down games, 79 and 77. But apart from that, 115, 95, and 124. So he's someone that, again, no real need to get rid of him as yet. Now, speaking of needing to get rid of people, this bloke falls firmly in that discussion. It's Bailey Dale, the man with 2 first names. You can never trust a bloke with 2 first names. Scored a 70. And, I spoke about it when I brought him into my team, that this is no real surprise. We analysed him in the preseason, and he has that form line across his career where his floor is not stable. He has a really big standard deviation in his scoring, meaning that his floor can fluctuate and can be quite low. And then when it comes to his ceiling games, they can fluctuate as well. They can be really, really insane, like 170, 150, 160. But they can also be manageable, be around about 120, 125, which we obviously want to take. But the issue with Bailey Dale is that big standard deviation. And you've got to ride those bumps. I think for me, he's not going to be a top 6 defender. But the reason I got him into my team was for, those big scores up until I find someone that is more of a keeper that I can punt him to. And I think I've kind of found that player, and it is in the form of Christian Petrarca as my F6, which will complete my forward line. So he will be a stepping stone to that. But it's just a little bit of a shame because he lost 28.5K this round, just gone, and lost in total 55K, which isn't good considering that when we brought him in, he had gone up, when did we get him? I think it was round 3. So he was 528 and he's 55K less than that. So we've been able to ride some okay scores, 81, 110, but then he's had some off games, 68, 93 and a 70. So, it's almost every second week that he's scoring well, and he probably will score well this coming round against Port Adelaide. It's a given almost, because that will come back to bite me in the arse, no doubt. But I think longer term, I much prefer Track, who's getting those CBAs, and I'll speak about later on when I chat about my trades. But just Bailey Dale, he's kind of that thorn in my side that when I look across my team, and I'm not even factoring in my rookies that can fluctuate in scores, obviously, but are still generating cash. There are, I guess, pain points or, weaknesses in my team's armor, so to speak, that need to be corrected. And when you have guys at that price point fluctuating so badly, that's what can really, really sting you and hurt you from week to week. So he's someone that is on the chopping block for me. And we'll chat about him a little bit later in the trade segment. Now, Riley Bice, 101, went up another 30.3K, has gone up in total 257.3K. And the beauty of him is he still has a low break even of 38 heading into round 8. So he's already made 257.3K. That's just absolutely insane. More than double what we expect our rookies / cash cows to profit, or, I guess the cash generation to reach before we cash them in and really reap the rewards of that profit. 370.8K, I think that's actually similar price point to Mills. Yes, he's actually more expensive than Mills now. So, we could potentially sideways trade him to Mills when Mills does return, plays 2 games. If he looks good, has a nice role, that's just absolute luxury if we could do that. So, until then, we'll keep him in our side as long as possible because he's scoring well and he has a very nice role, as we know. So, tip of the old cap to you, good old Riley Bice. Moving on to the midfield now, and Nick Dacos punched out at 125. We took that happily, and the other option that was on the cards was Tristan Cherry and maybe TDK. Now, Tristan Cherry, I think maybe Liam went for as his captain. We'll find that out in this week's episode of SuperCoach Edge, but he would be laughing all the way to the bank because Cherry ended up scoring 158, and TDK, for reference as well, he ended up scoring 135. So it was only 10 points more than what Dacos scored. But yeah, it would have been nice to have Cherry over Dacos, but we'll take that end of the day. I think the trigger for me for VC lock-in scores are 120 plus. He scored a 125, so I'm like, yep, happily do that. No qualms about that. He went up 32.1K as well, so it now has gone up 9.5K in total and in 53.2% of teams. So again, if you haven't got this bloke, get him in your team. He is a prime upgrade. Caleb Sarong, he dropped another 14.9K, has dropped 49.7K overall off the back of another score that was a ton, albeit just over a ton. He's really frustrating because he's getting his hands on the footy, but he's just not converting that to SuperCoach scores. Across the journey, he scored for 2025 thus far 102, 99, 105, 142. That was his big breakout game or big ceiling game. Then he scored a 103, 102, and 108. So you could say he's consistent, if anything, but, the one thing, sorry, my voice is just going there, but like he had 32 disposals against the Crows, but most of those were handballs, 26 handballs to 6 kicks. Prior to that, he had 9 kicks, 18 handballs against the Ds. It's just, he has had other games where he's had, a bit of a equal distribution between kicks and handballs, but if those were kicks and the disposal efficiency was up, he would have scored well above that. So it's frustrating, but the tide will turn because Sarong, I think his lowest score across the past 2 seasons has been like 84. So if that's his floor, we'll take that every single day of the week. So as annoying as it is, especially considering that Brayshaw is not attracting tags for some reason whatsoever, I don't know. But it seems as though Sarong's getting attention and he's just not converting, as I said, the disposals, the kicks, everything else to SuperCoach score. But we'll stick with him because he's the least of our worries at the moment. Now, speaking of least of our worries, Adam Chera went up another 3.6K, has profited 65K thus far, 81 score, but this has probably been his lowest score for the season as I look through his scores. Yes, it is. So, again, if that's his floor, we'll happily take that. Considering he started at a bargain price point, you've got to take that 100%. Clary Oliver, now he started the game very, very slowly and looked like absolute shit, but somehow worked his way back into the game and scored a 98. I don't think he's going to be a primo or a keeper at this stage of the game, but again, least of our worries is at that price point, provided he sticks around his current price point, he's going to be an easy, I guess, I say easy in, I guess, context of knowing the caliber of players that we can, punt him to. And, if it's at a high price point of like a Bontempelli or a Butters, we kind of have to find money in order to do that. But, it would be handy if Clary can go up in price and maybe add 100K on top of his current price point. That would make it much easier to go to a Bont or a Butters. But again, we just hope that he sticks around that price point and punches out, a ton week on week. That's all we can ask for now, and we'll assess as we go on. Now, Ryan Marrick, he's been in my team for about 4 weeks now. He went up another 15.2K off the back of a score of 87, and just he's playing that role I got him in for. So his break-even going into next week is 59. Should still increase on price week on week. So I ended up getting him in my team, 320 he was. So he's increased 80K since then, which is fine. Like, that was secondary for the reason of me getting into my team. I got him into my team in order to get a fellow rookie that was inconsistently scoring off field. So he's been able to score in that time an 84, 91, 87, and an 88. So, we are quite happy with that. And yeah, as long as that continues, he's got the role, he's got that quarterback role, rebounding off defense. He's not really required to be much of a defender per se. He's kind of been utilized for his offensive game off halfback, and he's playing it really to a T. So good to see there from Marek. Likewise as well, Levi Ashcroft. He scored a 68 on the weekend, went up 25.3K. He has gone up in total now, 162.3, and has a break-even of 48 going into round 8. But again, he's probably going to be one of the last rookies that I upgrade. He's been ever so consistent apart from that game against the Cats in round 3 where he scored a 36. He scored an 84, 72, 87, 90, 89, and a 68. So you could probably consider that another down game. Faces Gold Coast at the Gabba, and that's going to be an absolutely rip-snorting contest, that one. But again, no worry about him. He is in 70.3% of teams, and he's not going to impact you either way. If he scores well, if he scores shit, doesn't matter. Just stick him in your team, keep him there, and just go about your merry way. Xavier Lindsay, another rookie, cash cow. It turned things around with a score of 78, went up 28.3K, which was handy to see, and really kickstarted his cash generation again. I spoke about it last week in the team talk and also in the SuperCoach Edge episode proper with regards to Lindsay, because that score of 9 that he had, which was injury affected in round 3, that's now fallen out of his price cycle after this round. Even though he scored a 48.55 in his previous 2 weeks, now a 78 against Richmond, he now faces West Coast. And that 78 is going to stick around in his price cycle for another 2 weeks. And he went up 28.3K, as I said, and has a break even heading into this round of 1. So if he can score very similar to this, he should go up around about 30K. So that will mean he's gone up 100K as of next week. And then you can start thinking about maybe using him as a stepping stone, cashing him out, and really using that money to upgrade to a genuine primo. So that was good to see. Elijah Hewitt is another player that I had to play on field, which was good enough. He scored a 65, went up 32.3K, and he's just a touch under 100K profit that he's made thus far, 97.8. And yeah, I'm just pleased to see that he's back from injury. He's got a negative 32 break even. So if you are in the market for a cash cow, albeit at a more pricier 220.6K, he could be someone that you can look at. He's very, very handy with the DPP, forward midfielder, and his past 2 games, 97.65. Keep in mind as well that he does have a 22 in his current price cycle, which falls out as of next round. So his break even should hover around about a negative or, lowly break even off the back of that. If he can score, if he can score a 60, 70 potentially, he could be, break even at maybe 10, 20 if that. So he will continue making his cash. So really, really glad that we kept hold of him. Moving on to the rucks now, we have TDK, and I was really surprised to see on Twitter the amount of people that were factoring TDK into their trades as a trade out. I don't understand it, and if they were using him as a bit of a stepping stone to Flynn and cashing him out, in a sense, it doesn't really make any sense, because I know Flynn has made his cash, but TDK, you would have missed out on 135 score had you traded him out. Don't trade out your primos, even if it means getting in another, big cash cow. There's other avenues you can take to get in these big cash cows. Keep TDK, because, at this stage, we don't know if he's going to be a top 2 ruck. At this stage, I think he's kind of neck and neck with Gawn, maybe without looking at things. Cherry's obviously another one as well. But those are the 3-headed ruck that we have to, pay our respects to, really. And if you're trading out these guys off the back of, a lowly 1 game or maybe 2 games, just having a look at TDK's scoreline over the past couple of weeks. Like, he scored a ton in every single game. Like, he scored 100 last week against North. That's not panic signs at all. So I just don't understand the thinking behind that. But if you went that way, that's up to you. But I think at this stage, it's just a bit of a waste of a trade in my eyes. Harry Boyd, I put the captaincy on him, obviously, to lock in Wispy Dacos's VC score. Came in handy there. Moving on to the forward line. Now, Horn Francis scored a 111. and probably should have been more than that. He was very undisciplined at various stages, gave away a free kick, maybe a 50-meter penalty as well. If that was him, I think it was. So probably should have been more than that. But again, another player that people are probably ruining, trading out, had you traded him out early on. He's been consistent enough without blowing us away. Like those people that traded him out maybe in round 2 or 3, since then he's gone bananas. Like he scored 83, 61, and 82 in his first 3 games. Following that, he scored 153, 119, 94, and a 111. So he's gone up 10K, 10.7K on his starting price, made up the money that he did lose in the opening 3 games. And yeah, he's a primo. He's someone that is a keeper. Don't think about trading him out if you are thinking about that now. Not that you would, but just saying. But Isaac Rankin, another one. These 2 blokes probably should be F1 and F2, potentially around about that mark. Maybe Baslinka as well. McRae's fallen off the wagon a bit. But Rankin scored a 120, went up 2.4K. And yeah, he's someone that he's so consistent. Now that he's getting CBAs, he is just playing that role amazingly. Scored a 120, which has been his 2nd highest score for the season. He had a little bit of a lean patch there, 81, 91, 86, but he was subbed out in one of those games there from memory, and has been sort of nursing a bit of a niggle, but well and truly returned to form against Freo. And kicked 1 goal, 1, had 6 tackles, and that's a big part of his game as well. He loves a cuddle, which we love, 19 disposals and 5 marks. So that is really good to see. I just wanted to check with Horton Francis how many free kicks he gave away in the end. That's probably the one thing that's holding him back, I reckon. He gave 4 free kicks away, Jesus, against his old side. So maybe they're just getting into his head a little bit. But moving on to the player next up in my forward line, Baslinka. Scored a 120. Now, he's kicking. I haven't seen his disposal efficiency, but gee whiz, he was shithouse. But really just kicking to the right positions, being in the right spots to get the footy. And he's been doing what he's been doing all season. And that's really playing a role. Kicked a nice goal as well, long range, and was an absolute pest to us, us being Carlton, of course. Had 29 disposals, 5 marks, 9 tackles, and kicked a goal, as I said. So he's just making coin on coin. Like he's now gone up 108.3K, went up 19.7K on this round just gone, or tonight as I record this. And he looks like another keeper. So I was questioning him being a keeper, maybe around about round 3. I think now he's going to be a keeper. The way he's playing is consistent. He's got a great role. So lock and load with Baslinka. Now, Jack McRae, he's fallen a little bit of a heap over the past couple of weeks. He's lost us 18K on the weekend. And it's a bit of a strange one. I know he's copped a little bit more attention in recent weeks, but he's had a little bit of inconsistency. Like he burst on the scene for 2025, 127, 162, 120. Since then, he's had 100, 70, 104, and 77. So I still think he's going to be a top 6 forward. But again, he's in 74.8% of teams. So you probably don't have to worry about the fact that he's having these down scores. Unless you want to go contrarian and go opposite to the majority. I just personally think it's a bit of a waste because he's going to be a top 6 forward. So I wouldn't be thinking about that. And it's much for muchness again. Same with Caleb Daniels, 77.6% of teams. Had a score of 89 and went up 12.6K. Has now increased 192.5K and was another bargain start to our teams for 2025. Now, Sam Davidson. I opted to keep him off the back of his big score that he had last round. And he's able to score a 51. Had a late goal against the Giants. Still went up 6.7K, but I mean, he scored an 82 last week against the Saints. That 82 sticks in his price cycle for another week. So you could probably keep him for another week if you wanted to, maybe 2, depending on how he scores this coming round against Port Adelaide. But I was hoping for a better score than that. But I think he probably will average around about 60, 65, maybe 70 at most. But probably now is the time where I'm thinking about trading him in. He's made us 196.9K and at 310.4K, he can really use that coin to at least get a very, very nice upgrade. That's for sure. And to round things out, Matt Flynn, who was in our flex, was our trade in. Big cash cow on the weekend, as you would have been for a majority of you kind people out there. Scored the 105, went up 79.2K. And has a break even now as well going into round 8 of -45. So hopefully if you can, according to SuperCoach Plus, if you can score 95, he'll go up another 62K. So it will have made us what's that, 130, 140K thereabouts in 2 rounds. I know he got smashed by Meek. Meek's pretty good. He's a bigger body ruckman. Just hopefully, knock on wood, that nothing funny happens at the selection table. But that 79.2K is very, very handy. No doubt about it. Moving on to the bench, Zach Reed in defense scored a 90 and blew me away. I thought he was going to score well enough, but to score as well as he did was by far and away more than what I thought. Otherwise, I probably would have put him on field. Went up 33.7K, has now made us 178.5K. Like many of you out there, I was choosing between Trainer and Reed. I'm thankful that Reed had a lower break even, and I chose to keep him because it now has meant that he's made us another 33.7K, as I said. But he's probably someone now as well that you could probably think about moving on, albeit I think his break even is 48. So it has crept up a little bit. But again, if he could score half decently against North Melbourne, which he may be able to, his break even might drop down even further, and he could make us even more coin. So just keep that in mind, and wouldn't be hasty in trading him out. Matt Carroll, he was another trade in for me, cash cow. Scored a 54, went up 53K, so that's great to see. Elijah Sartis, I am ever so hopeful that he can return to Essendon's team this coming round. We'll wait and see with bated breath if that is the case, because he's got a negative, ridiculous, negative 15 break even. His team ownership has dropped from 49.7K in round 2 when he was dropped from thereafter to 25%. So he's virtually halved in ownership. And those people who are looking for a cash cow might have to, re-dip their toes back in the water, much like people have done with Flynn, who I'm one of those, and getting back into their teams. Clay Hall didn't play, which is frustrating, and minimum quality, you're doing some stupid shit with your team sheet, team selections, but we'll ride the bumps, and hopefully he can come back in. Sardale Hawley, likewise as well, we'll wait and see, but I got him obviously last week for that mid-defensive swing with Maxi Holmes, so he is playing a little bit of a role there until he plays. Tristan Cherry was my emergency on the bench because I had to, as I said, use the big fella, Harry Boyd, as my captain, loophole, and Cherry scored a 158. So another bounce back game by Cherry, and looks as though this bloke is well and truly back. We spoke about him in our captaincy, I'm the captain now segment on last week's episode of SuperCoach Edge. So hopefully you took that advice and whacked the C on him if you owned him and you were looking at other options, but he was definitely one. Has scored back-to-back big scores now of 144, 158, and faces Todd Goldstein, who we should absolutely wipe the floor with. Todd Goldstein is like in a retirement home. Around the ground, I think Cherry's going to absolutely smash him. He's going to tackle him to dust, I think. And I think Cherry's going to come out and absolutely smash it. So if you are in the market for a ruck, now is the time to get Tristan Cherry in your team. As I said, that 144, 158, if he scores anything similar to that, his price is going to go through the roof. He's going to go up, 30, 40, maybe 50K, depending upon how he scores, if he scores to the moon. So we'll wait and see with that. But just thought I'd outline that for those non-owners. Now moving on to the bench for the forward line, and we have Isaac Kako. Scored a 49, went up 8.1K, has now gone up 68.8K, has a break even of 25. So he's still, as we said, he's going to be a slow cash generator, slow cash cow, which is totally fine. And Caden Cleary as well. So he went up, 44.2K off a big score of 89, just came out of nowhere, has now increased 90.1K, which is super handy, and has a break even of 7. So he's going to make some very nice cash for us across the journey. So super, super happy with that. And that is our team. That's how we look. We head into this, trade period now, heading into round 8 with 102.4K already in the bank. We've got 2 boosts up our sleeve, which I don't think we'll use at this stage because, as I said, Bailey Dale is that player that we're looking to correct in our team. If you have a look at it on paper, apart from obviously those cash cows on field that are still making us money, when we talk about mid prices and primos, Dale fits the category more of a mid-pricer. He's not a primo, he's not a keeper, he's not going to be a top 6 defender, so we need to correct that. As I said, there's obviously Clary Oliver as well. There's the likes of Chera potentially later down the track, but they're high owned. So with that high ownership, means that you are not affected negatively when they have the low games. Unlike Bailey Dale, who is in less teams, he's actually in 15% of teams. So I was one of the poor sods that really, really struggled off the back of that. So I think he needs to go. Now, 100K on that, 102.4K, will give us someone within the vicinity priced at 575.5K. The one guy that we are looking at is someone that, as I mentioned earlier, will complete our forward line. I won't have to worry about that, which is handy. And it is in the form of track Christian Petrarca. However, he is about 20K more expensive than Bailey Dale. So Bailey Dale, mate, pull your head in. What are you doing? You've lost too much coin, which means we have to use a second trade. Now, the guys that we are going to outline here as trade-in prospects, there's one guy in Oscar McDonald who has a negative 64 break-even, which is very handy. He's priced at 119.9K. He's a defender only. However, he came in off the back of Patrick Voss going out of Frio's team because of suspension. He's also filling a void there with the big Luke Jackson. He has been out of the team. He will come back in. Someone has to make way. So Oscar McDonald could be one of those players. Patrick Voss as well, if they want to play him. Oscar McDonald probably makes way. So in that context there, whilst he is attractive because of that negative 64 break even, we may only get one price cycle out of him, which if he scores a 55, he will go up around about 50K. Do we want to take the risk of having maybe potentially another dead rookie? I don't think so at this stage. And being a defender only, it means that I will need to trade a Zach Reed, which I'm not keen on. Yes, I could go Bailey Dale down to Oscar McDonald. That's probably the other option as well, and it means that I need to play Zach Reed on field. That's something that I can consider. And then upgrade a Davidson to a track. But like I said, I just don't know if I can have the confidence on the job security of Oscar McDonald. The other two I'm looking at is Jed Buslinger. Again, another player that is only coming off his first game, his debut game, albeit he looked really good. And I mean, the main worry with him is the fact that Liam Jones was omitted. I think they've said he's been managed, but he has been dropped. And for him to get a game off the back of that is pleasing. But longer term, do we have confidence that he will stick around on the team? I think yes, but we are playing with Bevo here. Bevo is the coach, and we know what happens when Bevo is the coach of players that you have in your team. It's a very, very frustrating affair. So off the back of that, I think I'd be more comfortable in waiting to see if Buslinger is actually named for his, second game, let alone his third game. So I don't think I'll be going down that route as yet. He is a defender only as well, so I'd need to choose between Jed, Buslinger, and Oscar McDonald. So I don't want to be hasty and maybe making the wrong call, because if Oscar McDonald comes out of the team after this round and, we've had the one price cycle and then Jed sticks around on the team for the Dogs and absolutely smashes it, we're going to be kicking ourselves. So we're just going to wait and see, I think, with regards to that. However, even though he has played one game, and I'm talking here about Henry Huswaite for the Hawks, he has a little bit more job security, I think, anyway, in the Hawks team. He came in via Connor Nash going out of the team, suspended for 4 weeks. Henry's played his first game, and he's got another 3 weeks at the very least. If he can stick around on the team, which I think he can, because he played quite well against the Eagles, that we're going to get 2 price cycles out of him at minimum. He's got a negative 23 break even at the moment off the back of that one game, which is very handy. He scored a 72 against the Eagles, but he also had 24 disposals, 2 marks, 2 tackles. Huge raps on this bloke. Probably, I don't know if you remember, but it would have been last preseason as well. A lot of us thought that he was going to form an integral part of Hawthorn's engine room. Didn't get the crack like we thought he did or would have in the early part of the season. Came in late in the piece, played a couple of games, but was sub. And yeah, we couldn't get a very decent look at him. He's priced at 121.2K. And I think he's someone that I am confident will stick around on the team, at least for the next 3 weeks. We'll get 2 price cycles out of him. Off the back of that, if he continues to play well, I think he will stick around on the team longer term. So I'm a little bit more comfortable with Hustwaite as as a cash cow. So we might go down that route for now. Things may change, but for now, I think we'll go down that route. So what we're going to do now is we will have to trade Bailey Dale to, well, first off as well, I mean, the other guys that I'm looking at, should mention that across the next couple of weeks, we have the likes of, we'll head into the trade screen here, because we have guys that are going to drop in price. And we love discounted, underpriced primos. So Flanders has dropped a whole heap of cash. He scored an 82 to his credit. He's now dropped 39.6K on the weekend, has dropped in total 152.3K. I don't know about his role as yet, so I'm not going to jump on him for now, but he's dropped to 489.2K, very, very juicy. But Jack Sinclair is the man that I'm looking at. Scored a 99 on the weekend, well below par, and especially considering that he's started the season on fire. 95, 145, 162, 118, 108, 70, 99. His past two games, he's lost collectively 70K. And he's now lost all the money that he made in the early rounds of the season and has dropped in total 22K. So he is projected to lose another 25K if he can score a 110. So if he scores below that, even better. But 167 break even, faces Freo this coming round, and will be priced under, we hope at this stage, 550. So he's going to be an incredible price. He's going to be a juicy, juicy get. And that's where we think about cashing in another cash cow and trading another likely type to Sinclair. And that will mean that we have the likes of Sheasel, Holmes, Zorko, Sinclair, Roberts, and Bice on field, which is very, very handy. We don't have to worry about anyone else. They're all consistently scoring well enough, albeit a couple of primos there up and down, but we'll have to ride those bumps. And then we'll look at, our midfield, upgrading those guys, because if we get Petrarca in this round, it means our forward line's set. We get Sinks in next week. It means that our defense is virtually set until Roberts, increases in price, or we see another primo that has dropped that is gettable. We'll jump on then, but I think we'll start, trying to generate cash to then bring in the big dogs. And hopefully in the time that I'm waiting to bring in those big dogs and our cash cows are making money, the likes of Bont, Butters, they have an off game or two and they can drop in price. So we just have to play the waiting game, be ever so patient. That's I think the hidden side of SuperCoach is just being awfully patient, biding your time, don't rush things, and don't force things. That's the main thing as well. So I think Sinks is probably the one that I'm looking at next week as a potential in, but this week it's got to be Track, because the thing with Track is that he's bottomed out. He's well and truly bottomed out. Before I look at Track, we need to swing some changes, because Dale needs to swing. We don't have flex in use because we have Matt Flynn as a ruck only, which is annoying, but we can get around it via DPP swings, and that's via, where are we? We might, we'll have to swing El Hooley back into defense, which means that we'll have to play Zach Reed this week against North Melbourne. Hopefully he can come out with a nice score before we bring Sings in next week. And so Al Hooley goes back to defense, and then we'll swing a Davidson, I think at this stage, much for muchness anyway, to the midfield. And what we'll do is we'll trade Davidson as well. Davidson goes to Hustwaite, and then we have 764.7K in the bank to spend, courtesy obviously of Davidson being cashed out, and Petrarca. So he's priced at 497.2K. Dale, Davidson out for Track and Hustwaite. So it leaves me with 267.5K in the bank. So we'll go confirm on that. And the beauty of that is it means that 267.5K, I can virtually put on the head of a player, like a Clary, someone else, maybe even an Ashcroft, and get Sinclair in my team via one trade. So that's the beauty of when I talk about the trade cadence, having extra funds already in your bank for next week, that you can do upgrades in one trade. So that's the beauty of this now. We've kind of re-energized, kick-started our trading cadence now, which is good to see. Off the back of Sinclair coming in next week. Of course, I'm forecasting forward, and we'll chat about things obviously then, but I think we'll probably just sit back and, just wait for our cash cows to increase. That's the beauty of it. But with Petrarca as well, yeah. So his break even is 70, and plays West Coast, which as we know, West Coast not in the best form, and teams are absolutely tearing them to shreds. And the beauty with Petrarca is the fact that he's getting extra minutes in the engine room. So he had on the weekend 79%, and then around 6 he had 82%. So his CBAs have increased pretty much week on week. So that's a pleasing sight. Like he had a 81% in round one, but he's at 82% and 79% in his past two, which is good to see. And he scored a 94 and a 129. And as I said in previous episodes, the big upside with Track was his disposal efficiency. That's really what's been holding him back from having a massive game. And that's what kind of why he's been loitering around, high 90s and hasn't really been cracking the tons. So he had a 79% disposal efficiency game, which was his second highest for the season, and had that big 129 score. So he's getting the roll back, which is good. He's still kicking goals. He's making those all-important tackles, and he's returning all that for a score. So he is, to me, from here on out, someone I think you need in your team, in my opinion anyway, when it comes to your forward line. So he comes in, and that completes our forward line, as you can see there. Let's now rejig our team. So we will go through captains, everything else, loopholes. Now, because I've traded Dale, sayonara Dale, out of my team, and I've had to switch El Hooley back, I think Reed will come on field for me, Zach Reed, and Carroll will have the emergency, I think, at this stage. The midfield, I think we'll stick with maybe Hewitt as on field. Actually, what we could do, because West Coast play first, and Hawthorn between Hawthorn and West Coast, I'm talking about here, comparing Hewitt and Huswaite. West Coast play first. They play the last game on Saturday, and Hawthorn play the second game on Sunday. So we can actually put Hewitt on the bench with the emergency and screen his score. So I get a look at his score. If he scores well enough, we put someone like a Sartis on field, should say, and that is if Sartis doesn't play. And if he doesn't score well enough, well, we keep Huswaite on field. If Sartis plays, I would happily put Sartis on field. But if Clay Hall isn't selected, what we could do is just what I explained there. Put Sartis on with the emergency, and then if he scores well enough, Hall isn't named. If he scores well enough, then we keep Hall on field as that loop. If not, then we put Hewitt or Huswaite on field in that role. Everything else is set. Forward line set. Don't have to worry about that. Kako and Cleary still making us coin. Flynn making us coin and punching out nice scores in the flex on field. And that's virtually it. So really, really happy with the structure at the moment. We have enough guys making cash, which is the all-important rule that we have in SuperCoach. It is king. Cash is king, as they say. Cash cows are king. So don't disregard those. In terms of VC and Cs ever so quickly, I haven't really had a look at it much, but I did mention about Cherry up against Goldstein, the old dusty looking ruckman. He's gonna tear him to shreds, I think. Ex teammate as well, something to prove, and I reckon he'll absolutely run him ragged, Goldstein, and he'll put up a big score. So here's my tip for VC by far and away, and I think for the captaincy, you can maybe put it on a Dacos. Yeah, we'll have to go through. We'll go through, of course, all the best VC and C options in this week's episode of SuperCoach Edge. So make sure to tune into that. But that's my team, ladies and gents. Hopefully you had a better week than me. No doubt you did. Majority of you did, because it was one of those weeks. I had a bit of a downer, but as I said, it's not the end of the world, and I am building my team. I've completed my forward line now, which is quicker than what I thought I would. But now we concentrate on bringing Sinclair in next week, and then upgrading our all-important midfield, because our rucks are set, and then we're virtually done. So kind of using our trades, I think, to our advantage. We've still got those 2 boosts, probably 2 boosts more than what I thought I would have had, because last season I think I burnt through them by this stage, or maybe had 1 left. So I've got maybe an extra one more than what I did at this time last year. But we continue on, and we just hope that there is consistency in our scores across the board to keep punching out some nice scores and climbing the ranks. But that's it, ladies and gents. Thank you as always for tuning in. Really do appreciate your company. As always, down below, check that out. If you haven't yet joined our SuperCoach Edge Open League, feel free to do so. The code is 623082. I think we've got actually over 1,000 people now in the Open League. Yes, we got 1,027. So tip of the cap to all of you out there for tipping that across to the 4 figures. That's the first time we've had 1,000 people in our Open League, and really does fill our hearts with joy. So thank you for that. Of course, as I've mentioned as well, we have opened up a YouTube membership for those people tuning into YouTube. If you want to support us, feel free. No obligation to do so, but there are a couple of membership options there. You get exclusive access to emojis, on live streams and stuff as well. When you're typing out messages to us, it flashes up on screen. You get priority, of course, all that sort of stuff and more. So check that out. Price for a cup of coffee for a month. So it's a coffee a month virtually. So if you are keen to support us, again, up to you, no obligation. But we do always, as we say, appreciate your support, because without you, we wouldn't be here doing what we do and doing it with as much joy and love. We will catch you on the episode proper for SuperCoach Edge. Look out for it, as always, on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple Pods, all that sort of stuff, if you'd like to tune in to the audio podcast. But thank you as always, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.